Welcome to the chapter of the Elite Playbook. I'm your host, Evanson. With me today, I have my co-host, Ronald, and I have our regular guest, Kyle, here with us to share his knowledge about football. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Great. Glad to be here.
How are you doing today, Ronald?
Wonderful.
Don't wasting a lot of time. You've been educating us a lot about football, and today we're going to talk about common play and formation. I've heard a lot about plays and formation. What is formation?
Sure.
In football?
So we have formations on offense and we have formations on defense. So when the quarterback is holding his helmet, right, he's trying to block out all the noise from the stadium. And he is getting the play call from a coach that's up in the booth, up in the top of the stadium. The coach is telling him what play they're going to run out of what formation. So quarterback is getting the play. They're substituting players in real time to get the next play set up. The defense has a short amount of time to react to the players that come onto the field for the offense. So say the offense decides to put 4 wide receivers on the field at the same time. The defense doesn't want to have 6 linemen and 3 linebackers out there to guard against 4 wide receivers. They want their fast guys out there. They want their defensive backs to cover those 4 wide receivers. So the defense is always reacting to what the offense is doing. And so when the quarterback is holding his helmet, listening to that microphone, he's getting the offensive play call, getting their formation set, and the defense is reacting with their own formation.
I've heard a lot about shotgun and line up on the center. What are these terms? Can you explain them?
Yeah. So historically, a team would line up under center to run the ball, right? That's they're going to line up under center because it's a more efficient snap of the ball. You don't have to worry about a center snapping it 3 yards behind them and the snap going over the quarterback's head or on the ground between his feet. A under the center snap is a much more efficient snap. And it's also a lot easier for the quarterback to quickly turn and hand the ball off to one of the running backs. The advantage of the shotgun is that the quarterback has a better view of the defense. They can see what the defense is doing, how they're setting up to defend the play that they're going to run, whether a player is blitzing or not, or likely to blitz. So the shotgun gives them a better view of the field. You might say that under the center, the play is more likely to be a run play. And if the quarterback is lining up in a shotgun formation, it's more likely to be a pass play.
And how do offenses use a spread formation, and how does it help quarterbacks?
Yeah. So a spread formation is when an offense is going to put a higher number of wide receivers on the field. So typically 4 or 5 wide receivers on the field in a spread formation, meaning that the offensive players are spread out across the field. There may be 1 running back in the backfield. They may have no running backs in the backfield. So the defense knows this is very likely a pass play. So the spread formation also then spreads the defenders out across the field as well. So you're able to get more of your offensive players in space one-on-one against defenders rather than giving the defense the opportunity to bring 2 defenders up against 1 skill position player or 1 person that's going to get the ball.
Yeah, the question I would ask, I'm not sure if that's even legal. Has there ever been a time where a play was created? They have, example, 2 quarterbacks on the field, where they can pass to another, and then the other is the one who throws the ball to.
It's rare. That's a good question. It's rare, but teams have done it to some success, some degree. It's tough because your quarterbacks aren't necessarily your best ball carriers. They're not your best wide receivers either. They're not very good at blocking either. They're good at getting the ball to the other skill players. So if you see 2 quarterbacks on the field, At the same time, it's usually some kind of a decoy, some kind of a trick play. To your point, it might be a double pass where one quarterback passes to another quarterback out wide of the formation, and then that quarterback is going to throw the ball down the field to a wide receiver. But at the same time, if a defense sees two quarterbacks on the field, they know something's up, right? They got to prepare for some kind of a trick play. And the defense will adjust to it. The offense knows that they're going to adjust to that, so they're probably not likely to put two quarterbacks on the field at the same time. Plus, we've talked to the football is a dangerous sport. There's a lot of injuries. I don't want to risk putting two of my quarterbacks, your key position on the team, out on the field at the same time and risk one of them getting hurt. So it does happen, but it's not very common.
What's the purpose of the I formation, and why is it so popular in older NFL offenses?
Yeah, I formation is kind of the standard. The I formation was the standard formation in the past. We'll just say in the past. And it was designed to help the running offensive plays. You would have a quarterback, you would have a fullback, and then you would have a running back, and they would be lined one behind the other. Fullback would typically block for the running back. You would have an extra player blocking the defense. They're going to run through the line of scrimmage and open up a running lane for the running back. Over time, the sport has become more finesse, more focused on skill players. So you're typically not using a fullback anymore. So instead of an extra blocker in the backfield, you're more likely to bring in another blocker on the line of scrimmage, or another wide receiver, or even a second running back to try and trick the defense as to who's going to get the ball. So instead of the I formation, now it's transitioned more to shotgun, where your quarterback, like we just said, is able to read the defense better and distribute the ball to its skill players in space. It's not as physical an offensive game as it used to be in the past.
Making sense of the game, Kyle.
I hope so.
Any follow-up questions, Ronald?
Yeah, I guess one question I would ask, if ever, let's say quarterback, I don't know if I know the terms, but I'm going to ask the question. You can.
Sure. Yeah.
I've seen sometimes where they throw flags for something that was done illegal.
Yep.
Where a player was placed illegal from a formation.
Yeah.
Now, let's say the quarterback does whatever he needs to do. They gain the yards that they needed for that first down.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the players does something illegal.
Yeah.
Now, what would they do?
Yeah. So
for that play?
Yeah. If the offense committed, and the penalty is illegal formation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's typically when you have too many men lined up in the backfield. You have to have, you can only have 4 players behind the line of scrimmage, 4 players lined up behind the line of scrimmage on offense. So the penalty has been committed before the play even starts. So typically that flag is going to be thrown and the play will be blown dead before the play even starts.
Mm-hmm.
But if the play is allowed to go on and they get a first down, they're going to bring the ball back to the original line of scrimmage and go backwards from there for the penalty. So that's the other way that a penalty is called in that scenario is if one of the offensive players is moving forward towards the line of scrimmage when the ball is snapped at the start of the play, that will also have a flag thrown. Again, the play may be allowed to go on, but it will come back to where the original line of scrimmage was, and they'll take the penalty yards and back the offense up again.
Okay.
And how does a play action work, and why does it fool offenses?
So play action is going to fool the defense. What it is a play action is the quarterback faking a handoff to a running back, right? Mm-hmm. And then pulling the ball back to throw it. So the play action fools the defense into thinking there's a run play coming. So the defenders start to run up towards the line of scrimmage to tackle the ball carrier. They've come forward while the offense's skill players, the wide receivers, have stayed back behind them. So now they're open. There's nobody defending them. So the play action is designed to bring the defenders in towards the line of scrimmage. Quarterback's then going to drop back and then pass it to a wide receiver. And there should be a defender that got moved up to try and tackle the ball carrier, and they're no longer defending the wide receiver.
Let's say a play is called. Quarterback has the ball. He chooses not to throw it, not to give it to anyone, just see an opening and try to go get the touchdown. Is this a legal play?
Yep. That is a perfectly legal play. Sometimes it's designed that way. That's a play call, a quarterback draw, or a quarterback keeper. It could be a quarterback sneak. Now it's the tush push is the big play that everybody wants to get thrown out of the game. So a quarterback draw is typically going to be out of the shotgun formation where the quarterback is lined up 3-4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. They're typically going to fake a handoff and then run forward. There could also be a scramble play where they drop back to pass, right? And nobody gets open, but the defensive line kind of spreads out and there's now a running lane for the quarterback to run through. Nobody's open, so he can't pass it. So he's going to run and try and pick up yardage going forward because there's no defenders in front of him. He could also just be chased out of the pocket. He wants to pass from a certain area behind his line of scrimmage. And if his offensive line can't keep the defenders out of that area, he has to run away. And now he's scrambling, but he's just scrambling for his life. He's trying not to get tackled. So he could be scrambling and choose to run the ball as well. A quarterback sneak. We talked about the I formation where a quarterback is lined up right behind the center. They're going to, this is typically done to try and pick up a short amount of yardage. Center snaps the ball to the quarterback who's right behind him, and then they all surge forward to try and pick up a yard or half of a yard to get a first down. There's now a play where the quarterback will line up right behind the center, and he'll have players behind him as well on his own team. He'll get the snap, and then they'll go forward, and everybody behind him will. And it's called the tush push, right? They'll push his tush forward and try to get more yards that way. Okay. Yeah. The Philadelphia Eagles are a team that are doing that a lot right now. There was talk in the offseason about trying to get that play thrown out because it's so successful. There's not much a defense can do to stop it because of the timing of the snap. The defense doesn't have time to react, and they can just push forward for a yard or two, and it doesn't look like football, but it's a very effective play. So they haven't outlawed the play yet.
Yeah, but why would other teams try to outlaw something? Because they can't defend against it.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
That's
why the NFL hasn't. Football is a game of entertainment, right? It's a sport, yes, but it's all about generating revenue. And if people aren't entertained, the sport isn't generating revenue. They're not going to watch it. They're not going to watch a team snap the ball and just push forward 3 yards at a time all the way down the field. And it's just not fun to watch. You're wasting skilled players on the field. So it's a boring play, I guess. But it is very effective.
If they're being effective.
Most teams, you have to have a very big, athletic, strong quarterback in order to do it. So not every team can recreate that. The Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray is about my size, and you can't run that play.
That'd be crushed.
Yeah. So you need to have a bigger quarterback in order to do it. And there's only so many teams that have a quarterback that's capable of running that play.
And I know in reference to that play, this could be another subject for another day. This could be very dangerous play as well.
Mm-hmm.
And while we were talking about it, and I've seen the referees miss calling illegal one start on it.
Yeah,
a couple of times I've seen the coach. There was what do you call that that false start.
Yeah,
one or two instances where the Eagles have done false start and the coach did not actually call the play. So that's also in questions whether they might next year they might not come on.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's players in the backfield moving forward at the time the ball is snapped. Yeah. That's a false start. That's a penalty. They're so bunched up and they're so tight together that the referees, the umpires, they can't see it. They can't see it happening.
Yeah.
Personally, I agree. Right. If you can't stop it, that's your fault. That's your problem. It's not my problem. Yeah. It's a very effective play. So eventually defenses will find a way to stop it. The game always evolves, but as of right now, it's just a conversation about whether they're going to outlaw the play or not. I hope it stays.
Me too.
It's not.
Just because you can't defend something doesn't mean you can say, well, this is illegal.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Come up with your own play.
It's kind of like playing sports against your big brother, right? You know, it's not fair that he can he's more athletic than you. He's bigger than you. He found something that you can't stop because he's your big brother, right? And you say, that's not fair. I don't want you to be able to do that. You can't do that. And you gotta, you make up rules halfway through the game and say, no, you can't do that anymore. But if I'm the big brother, I'm going to keep going.
Last thing I would say about the play, I was reading an article over the weekend where a team, I don't want to mention the team, trying to bring a player that was not the player did not make the team before the season because it was too big. Mm-hmm. Now they're trying to bring that player back. They're saying because of that play, they bring that player back so they can stop the Eagles. Have you heard of that?
I haven't. I didn't.
The Tampa Bay. To bring a player that's I think 400 something pounds.
Yeah. Well, that's just it, right? Eventually, you'll have to have a position on your team. The tush push blocker.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But that's how the game has evolved.
Yes.
And it will continue to evolve. It's just a matter of whether the league wants that play to be a part of its package of entertainment.
Okay. Now, next question for Kyle. What do you think? What is zone coverage versus man-to-man coverage?
Yeah. So now we're talking about the defensive side of the ball. The offense is going to try and pass the ball. It's very. The offense is going to try and pass the ball to its wide receivers down the field. So a defense has two ways of defending those wide receivers. They can defend the wide receiver with man-to-man coverage, meaning you're going to match up a defensive back on each wide receiver, and it's man-to-man, right? That one defensive back is going to try and shadow that wide receiver all over the field, wherever they run their route. And you have to have very skilled defensive backs to do that. There are some wide receivers in the league that are just very elite athletes that are almost impossible for one defender to defend in man-to-man coverage. Man-to-man coverage also will typically get the defensive back to turn its back to the line of scrimmage. So now you have a defender not watching the ball. We talked about the quarterback draw, scramble plays, play action passes. If a defensive back has its back to the offense, they don't see that happening, right? They don't see the quarterback draw because they see the quarterback take the snap. They immediately think, okay, this is a pass play, and I have to turn to see what the wide receiver is doing and follow him. Defense is always reacting to the offense. So to set up my defense, I might say, you know what? I don't have the defensive backs to defend against wide receivers man to man, or this part of the field, this specific part of the game it's not in my best interest to run man to man coverage. So I'm going to do zone instead, where my defensive backs and linebackers will they'll be given a spot on the field to defend, and I have an area to defend. And if a wide receiver comes into my area, my job is to stop them from getting the ball, from receiving the pass. The advantage there is I'm able to see, my eyes are always on the offense, right? I'm in my zone and I'm looking forward towards the line of scrimmage so I can see what's going on. But now I have an area to cover, right? And so there's more space between me and the wide receiver that I'm trying to defend against. So backing up to man-to-man coverage, man-to-man, I'm right next to the wide receiver. So I have a better chance of defending that player from getting the ball if I can stay with them. But again, some wide receivers that are just too fast. There are some wide receivers that are just too tall. Big. Yeah. So an offense will try and exploit those matchups, right? If I have a 6'4" wide receiver and they're going to be going up against a 5'10" cornerback all day, and they've got 6 inches on them. And if they have 6 inches, they probably have 30 pounds on that player as well. So it's easier for them to use their strength and size to get in front of that defensive back, or to jump high and catch a ball that the defensive back just doesn't have a chance of jumping up to stop him from getting.
Yeah, a follow-up question I would ask you, I don't know if you have the statistics on that. Out of those two plays, which one have been more successful?
Yeah. Don't know the statistics. And a team will run man-to-man and zone at different times of the game. They may also run man-to-man on half the field and zone on the other half of the field. So it depends on the offensive attack that I'm trying to defend and how good my players are in those different defensive plays. I don't know which is more successful on defense, but it just depends on what your team's skills are compared to what the offense's skills are.
What is the nickel defense, and when is it most effective to use?
Yeah, so a nickel defense, we talked about transitioning from the I formation to shotgun, spread formation. So over time, defenses had to adapt to what offenses were doing. Offenses started to use more wide receivers. That's what you're going to see when you turn on football now. So in order to defend those wide receivers, I need to put my faster defensive players on the field. So I'm going to put 5 defensive backs on the field to cover 4 to 5 wide receivers. So a nickel, 5 cents, right? So you have 5 defensive backs, which means I'm sacrificing typically 1 linebacker for a defensive back. Your nickel back is a very specific set of skills. They're often going to have to come up and help in the run game. They're going to have to tackle a running back, but they also have to be fast enough to defend a wide receiver as well. So nickel back is a very specialized position now, and that's you see a lot of nickel formation now.
On the defensive side, I know football is a physical sport. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes I see they will call a foul on a player because either the player was holding, which I understand, mm-hmm. or grabbing a helmet. Mm-hmm. Now, let's say I'm more physical than someone. I don't wrap them where I have a 260, but at least I can hold him in that circle. Mm-hmm. Would that be called a foul or a legal block?
So if the offensive player has the ball, mm-hmm. I can do whatever I want to tackle them except grab their face mask. So that won't be a penalty. If I am defending an offensive player that doesn't yet have the ball, I can't stop them from running where they want to go. So I can't grab them. I can't tackle them before they have the ball. So that's not going to be a penalty if the player has the ball. But if they don't have the ball, not a lot a defensive player can do to stop that offensive player. They can touch them. They can't push them off their route if it's a wide receiver running a route. The offense has to be allowed to run their play. So until the offensive player has the ball, the defense is limited in what they can do. I don't know if that answers the question completely.
Sure, but I'll come up with a follow-up. Let's say now I can see the quarterback is looking at them, now throwing the ball at them. Now the ball is in the air coming towards them.
Yep.
Am I still not able to tackle them from...
Right. Not until they touch the ball. Once the wide receiver touches the ball, now I can hit them. Now I can pull the ball out of their hands. Typically, a defensive back, a cornerback, a safety is going to try and deflect the ball before it gets into the receiver's hands. They can touch them. They can have a hand on them, but they can't pull them. They can't pull them down. They can't grab their arms. And this is a highly contested or highly contentious part of the game. It's a judgment call, and it's happening very fast. So the referees don't always call it accurately. Fans are watching, and of course, a fan will never agree with what the referees are doing unless they're calling it in their favor, of course. But it's a judgment call. And there's no set limit to how much a defensive back can touch the wide receiver. It just kind of has to look like pass interference. Okay. And sometimes referees will let them play, right? A referee, or the entire group of referees are letting the defensive backs and the wide receivers be a little bit more physical than in some other games. So it's a tough penalty to define. My answer doesn't really clarify it, but it's not a clear penalty. There are clear parts where if a defensive back grabs and pulls the jersey of the wide receiver, right, that's going to be called pass interference. If they are tackling them while the ball is in the air, that's going to be pass interference. But a lot of times, it's like as soon as the ball gets to the wide receiver, the defensive back is grabbing them, trying to pull the ball away, trying to pull the offensive player down. And that's when it's these split-second judgment calls that are highly contentious. They don't everybody's mad when they call pass interference, and it doesn't look like pass interference.
Okay. I've seen a lot of written name for the play, like West Coast offense. Mm-hmm. How did you come up with that name? Can you explain it? Or are there East Coast offense, North, South? Tell me.
Sure. Really, it's just the West Coast offense. I don't know of an East Coast offense, but West Coast offense was developed on the West Coast. Okay. It was attributed to the 49ers, San Francisco, so on the West Coast. Okay. They're the ones that really started to develop this wide open spread passing attack with lots of wide receivers on the field. And it's called the West Coast offense because it originated on the West Coast. It's defined by having a lot of skill position players on the field, a lot of wide receivers that are going to catch the ball. So a lot more passing than running the ball. And it was very successful when it first came out because defenses at the time were built to be very physical, right? And it's just kind of physics. The bigger you are, typically you're not going to be as fast, right? So offenses evolved to put more speed on the field to get around these bigger, stronger, slower defensive players.
Yeah. Our team limited to how many wide receivers they put on the field?
No, as long as you have enough players on the line of scrimmage.
Okay.
But it's going to be in your best interest to have some offensive linemen on there as well, to block and defend against the defensive players. And wide receivers, they don't really like to block. Right? Yeah. They want to catch the ball. They want to stay clean. They want to score all the points and get all the praise for all that. They don't like to block.
Going back to what we were saying earlier, something just came up now. If let's say there's a play called and the defender is playing his role. Now he has the chance to get the ball, but the wide receiver realizing he doesn't have access anymore to the ball. Is there anything he could do to prevent him, or would there be a foul called on him? Yeah,
that's a good point. We should have talked about that. The offense can be called for pass interference as well.
Okay.
So the wide receiver can be called for pass interference if they try and stop the defender from intercepting the ball. That's when the defense catches the pass. It's an interception. So yes, the offensive player can be called for stopping the defender from catching the ball. But there's another offensive pass interference call that happens when the wide receiver pushes the defensive back away to create separation, so they have enough room to jump and catch the ball. Again, one of those things where the defensive back and the wide receiver are probably going to have their hands on each other at the time that the ball gets there. So it's a tough call to make. It's not a clear penalty all the time. But the offensive player can be called for pass interference as well.
Yeah, I would ask another question regarding the same thing. Now, someone has the ball as an offensive player, the same way the defensive player can do anything to stop me. Am I able to use anything or everything to stop him from stopping me? For example, let's say I'm running towards him. I see he's coming towards me. Let's say I raise my foot like this to block him, not to where it's dangerous to kill him.
Yeah.
But he's going to fall.
Yeah.
Now, would that be considered as a legal play or?
No, yeah. So that would be a penalty. It would be pass interference. So there's a play that is also very contentious, called a pick play, where two wide receivers are going to run diagonal at each other. And the idea is to get the defensive backs to run into each other, or one wide receiver is going to kind of pick off the defensive player and block them. It has to be timed right. So the quarterback has to throw the ball to one of those wide receivers. They have to catch the ball before that offensive player, before that other wide receiver can hit the defensive back and kind of knock them away from the guy catching the ball. It's so well timed that a lot of times the wide receiver is catching the ball just as the other wide receiver is hitting the defensive back that was blocking them or that was guarding them. And it doesn't always get called. So it's a debate that's going on in the game about whether or not that play should be allowed to happen, or it has to be called on the field every time. It's not always called. One thing we didn't talk about is if the pass is tipped, meaning if a defensive player touches the ball while it's in the air, now the defensive back can hit the wide receiver at any point in time.
Even if he doesn't have the ball.
Exactly. Yep. Typically, you're going to see that where a defensive lineman gets their hand up at the line of scrimmage and they just get a finger or two on the ball and it deflects the pass. Now the defensive back can hit the wide receiver and it's not a penalty. You also may get a defensive back that tips the ball right next to a wide receiver, and another defensive back comes in and it's typically a very big hit. Yeah, because they're not expecting it at that point.
What is a wildcat? When do team use it? Why do they use it?
Yeah, so wildcat is when rather than snapping the ball to the quarterback, they're going to snap it to typically a running back. There's two reasons for that. Number one, I'm just out of quarterbacks. Every one of my quarterbacks, you usually have 3 on a team, got injured in that game. It's very rare, but that has happened. And so I'm forced to put somebody else in at quarterback. That doesn't happen very often. It's more likely to be intentionally called where I want to put my I may have my quarterback on the field in another position. I may not have them on the field at all. The offense is always at a disadvantage because when you have a quarterback, you only have 10 players to guard against 11 defenders. So instead, I may take my quarterback out, put another offensive player on the field that can block for my running back. And now I've created an advantage where I have more players to block for my running back. So it's an advantage in the running game. You're not typically going to see a running back throw the ball, but it's also part of the deception involved too. If I'm in Wildcat, the defense is pretty sure that I'm going to run the ball, but you may have a running back in the Wildcat, get the snap, run, or fake the run, and they're just good enough of a passer to throw the ball to a wide receiver. Now you've tricked the defense.
Follow-up question for you before I run out here. Derrick Henry, I've seen him throw the ball a lot of time.
Yep.
Would that be a good example where they have Derrick Henry on the field?
Yeah.
And we just not want to throw the ball. That would be
right. Yeah. So sometimes it's done out of the Wildcat where there is no quarterback on the field, or the quarterback is split out where a wide receiver would normally be. The running back gets the ball, and it's the design play to have the running back throw a pass. Again, just because the defense is not expecting it. Running backs don't practice throwing the ball at practice. You practice running the ball. Yeah. There are other times, though, where a quarterback may pass the ball to another offensive player behind the line of scrimmage. And as long as it's behind the line of scrimmage, that player can pass the ball again. We've talked about it. I'm a Nebraska Cornhusker fan, right? There was a famous play that Nebraska ran where they did have 2 quarterbacks on the field, but it was a backup quarterback that almost never was on the field. And the quarterback threw it out to his right to another quarterback, and nobody guarded the original quarterback. He ran out, and then the quarterback threw it to him. And he scored a touchdown. It was a big game. It was number 1 versus, I think, number 2 in the country, Nebraska versus Oklahoma. And that was a famous play. The quarterback that caught the pass won the Heisman that year, Eric Crouch. So that's called a double pass usually, where they'll pass it to a running back or a wide receiver or a second quarterback on the field, and they'll throw it again.
Yeah, I'm going to be off topic a little bit, but it's a good question. I usually see when there are 3 or 4 seconds left, it's basically the game is over.
Sure.
But the team has a chance to either equalize or score a touchdown or 3 points to win the game.
Yep.
Now, let's say within those 3 seconds, the offensive has the ball and the defense commits a foul. Mm-hmm. Now it's done. What would they do in that sense?
Yeah, so the game can't end on a defensive penalty. Okay. So they will spot the ball wherever the penalty would move the offense to, and you run another play.
But the 3 seconds has already passed. What would they do?
Yeah, they put 1 second on the clock.
Okay, so basically within that 1 second, even if they spend 15 or 20 seconds to finish that play, it's still the game is still on, right?
Right, exactly. Yep. Otherwise, if I'm the defense and I'm a defensive back, I'm just going to, every one of them, tackle the wide receiver, right? Or, line up offside. You're going to commit every penalty possible to gain an advantage, stop the offense. So the game can't end on a defensive penalty.
Oh, okay.
So there are times where in the same scenario, right? End of the game. And it happens fairly frequently where a lot of times it's a pass interference penalty. So it's a big penalty. It moves the ball a long ways down the field. In the NFL, it's a spot foul. So if I'm throwing it into the end zone at the very last second of the game and a defender commits pass interference, then you get the ball on the 1 or 2 yard line to start your next play. It's an untimed down, meaning that there's no time on the clock, no time on the game clock. You just run one more play. So it can be a huge moment in the game because, like you said, usually if I'm running that play, it's to take the lead at the end of the game.
What is the blitz?
Yeah, blitz. So that's a defensive play. We talked about this a lot. The defense is always reacting to the offense. A blitz is where the defense says, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to react to you. I'm going to rush more players at the offense than they can block, typically, is the idea. Normally, a defense is going to bring 4 defensive linemen up to try and stop the quarterback, sack the quarterback, tackle them behind the line of scrimmage when they're trying to pass it. I have a row of linebackers behind that are going to try and either defend a wide receiver, tackle the running back, or try and tackle the quarterback. A blitz is typically where you're bringing 6 guys. The idea being that's more than the offense can block at any one time. So the risk there is if I don't get to the quarterback, if I don't get to the running back in the backfield, I've left fewer defenders behind me to stop a big play. So it's a big gamble. It's a risk reward where if it works, it works. I'm typically going to stop the offense behind the line of scrimmage. If it doesn't work, I'm going to get, the offense is typically going to get a big play against me and get a lot of yardage. That's something I watch very closely when I'm watching a game. If you see a defender from behind the defensive line of scrimmage run up forward without trying to necessarily tackle a ball carrier or defend a wide receiver, they are just running as fast as they can towards the quarterback, and they don't get there. Meaning they don't tackle the quarterback behind the line of scrimmage. They don't tackle the running back behind the line of scrimmage. I immediately think to myself, this is going to be a big play because the defense gambled and it didn't pay off. So that's a blitz, and that's kind of the pros and cons to why defenses do that.
Okay.
One of the question I wanted to go back on, I don't know if I didn't ask it properly. You said that once a player has a ball, you can do anything to stop him. So being that my feet are part of my body, right?
Yep.
I know I'm not going to kick him like I'm karate chop him.
Sure. Yep.
But if I can tackle him like in soccer, you can
slide tackle.
You can slide tackle where if you do it legally, you get the ball. It's not a foul. Now, the same thing goes for the player. If he's coming past me, I know if I go with my hands, I probably won't have enough force to stop him. Yep. But my feet, it's basically I'm trying to trip him.
Yeah.
So I put my feet in, get both of his feet. Would that be illegal?
So I know that tripping is a penalty. It's more commonly assessed on a offensive lineman that's trying to stop a defensive player from getting to make the tackle.
Mm-hmm.
In the NFL and college football, you're not probably going to trip a player to the ground. They're going to jump right over your feet. it normally takes wrapping a player up with your arms or a very big hit with your shoulder into the player. There are things you can't do. So we talked about the face mask, right? You can't grab a player by the face mask. It's a good way to break somebody's neck. So that, you can't do that. It's called a horse collar tackle. You can't reach behind, like down into a player's shoulder pads, kind of at their neck, and pull them down backwards. It's also a very dangerous play. You can't, there's a penalty now called targeting. You can't hit a defenseless player, and that's, you can't hit a player that doesn't see it coming, basically, with the crown of your helmet. Basically, the forehead or top of your helmet above. You can't launch at a player above the neck with the top of your helmet. That's really to stop concussions from occurring. You also really can't launch your body at an offensive player above the neck, right, towards your head. So there's also something called a hip drop tackle, which is something that they just recently made a penalty for. You can't grab a player from behind and drop your weight and pull them backwards. You're not going to see it very often, but it's just a dangerous type of tackle. The technical way a player is going to tackle another player is to try and get lower than them. So by tackling, their thighs, their hips, putting a shoulder, wrapping up their leg, that's normally where you're going to see
prevent them from moving forward. Basically.
Right, exactly. I can trip a player, but they're likely to go forward another 3 or 4 yards, right? They're going to stumble, sure, but they're going to keep running forward. And the whole objective is to stop them from getting a first down and continuing to move forward. So can you do it? Yes. Not going to see it very often. And tripping is a penalty. But again, more often called on an offensive lineman that's trying to stop a defender from, they don't have the ball. That's where you're going to see tripping called.
Okay. That is the end of our chapter today. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you, Arnold, for being with us. And thank you, Carl, for your expertise. Absolutely. And I hope to see you next time.